I don't know how fast or how short I'm going to go today. I've been thinking a lot lately. There's been some challenging conversations and there's been some, I guess, obstacles that have presented themselves. And uh, a common or consistent question that I've been thinking about has been about capabilities. Um, I mean, as you can read in the title of this episode, it's "Are you capable?" As a man, ask yourself that. But how do you answer that question? How can you answer that question with true thought and um, the ability to, I guess, meditate on it in different areas and aspects of your life? Where can you think about, or how can you think about that question? How do you answer it? How do you answer that question? Um, and I was thinking about that myself. I've been thinking about it for the last few days, and I've almost thought more about other questions that have stemmed or branched off of that one than I have actually answering that one because I can find that question being fairly vague, and I think that I can answer it fairly vague. So therefore, I need to break it up into more specific questions that force me to have more accountability with the answer. So, you break that question down, and I think one of the first things that come to mind is instead of are you capable, ask yourself where in your life are the areas that you need to be capable in. What do you need to be capable of in those areas? And that's not a question that I can answer for you. That's a question that you're going to have to really sit down and think about and dwell on. And that's something that I've been doing for the last probably week or two. Um, it's going to require vulnerability. It's going to require transparency. You have to be responsible. And I think I said this in the first episode, something I always tell the high school teens in Sunday school when I'm teaching them is with more opportunities come more responsibilities. The more things that you've got to do, the more tasks that you have, naturally, the more responsibilities that you have. And as a man, I'm sure that those areas aren't lacking, right? You have a number of them. Is your level of responsibility or accountability in those areas lacking? And I'm not perfect, right? I'm not the shining example. I'm not standing here on a soapbox saying, follow my lead. I'm the one that's got this down. I have to have the conviction and like I mentioned earlier, the vulnerability of being able to sit here and say, there are times where I drop the ball. Um, you know, Using the shield wall reference, there are times where my arm gets tired and I start to lower my shield a little bit, and I can't do that. I can't afford to do that, and you can't afford to do that. And so when you ask that question of capability, another question that can come to mind is, can you afford to not be capable? And I think the answer to that is no. Um, Nobody really tells you, at least I didn't really hear it much growing up, that becoming a man can be tiring at times. Now, becoming a man requires responsibilities, and you can't waver from those. So I'm not saying um, that you can take like, oh well, you're a man, like suck it up and deal with it. Yes, that is the case. Like, let's be honest. There's got to be a hardness about you that says like, doesn't matter. I still got to move forward. But it doesn't always have to be that way. You always need to keep moving forward, but it doesn't have to be such a militant, um, hard nosed to the point structure. Sometimes it's going to require literally, and I can tell you this from experience. It might require you and your tribe, right? The guys that make up your shield wall, going and sitting down around a fire at 9, 10 p.m. when the sun's setting or after the sun has set, and you're sitting there in the woods talking about man, life, this area, right? Maybe you share something about your marriage or being a parent or work. I've found myself in all three of those kind of conversations with different guys. Thankfully, the tribe that I have, the guys that make up the shield wall around me, or some of them, we have kind of made it an annual tradition to go out camping. It requires a physical getting uncomfortable. You're going to have to pack a ruck. You're going to have to hike in. You're going to have to, we've been going out by Lake Michigan, so it's been lots of sand, which can be quite tedious to have to hike through, and it can prove itself to be a little bit difficult. But we'll hike in, we'll set up camp, we'll get water and firewood prepared, and kind of get some stuff ready and get camp set up, and then you know a good portion of what we do is just kind of being together. Um, and being there, kind of at night where the day has settled down, you're kind of unwinding, and now you're starting to share the things that have been on your mind over the last, say, couple weeks, months, even since last year's trip. That's the time to share it. And you're not going to be able to answer the question about your capability if you are going to be prideful in preventing yourself from being honest. Um, and I think the same thing goes not only when you're asking yourself that question, but when you're talking to other guys about it. That's something that we need more of. Even the guys in the military who we look up to as these like hard, these really hard, like experienced go-getter attitude type of men. I'm friends with a couple guys that have been in the military or currently are, and I know that those conversations are very important to them. If they weren't at the time because they had to put on some kind of a show or a front to show that they were hard in that moment, and that they were like, I guess, invulnerable. They were basically like they couldn't be harmed, they couldn't be hurt. Uh, Now, once the dust settles, kind of thing. I think that it's more common that they need that kind of conversation. And so, I go back to, where in your life are you needing to be capable? What do you need to be capable of? Can you afford to not be capable? Can you afford to drop the ball, right? Or to drop your shield? Um, can you ask that of yourself? I can. Um, because I don't think being vulnerable, being transparent is a difficult thing for me. Some guys it is, and I can understand that. At the same time, I kind of don't, because that's just not who I am. But don't let that deter you. Like, there are people that I talk to who are not nearly as open as I am, but we still have really great conversations, very, very productive conversations. Um, in all honesty, I feel like I have a decent amount of shields that I got to hold up, right? Whether it be in ministry as a man of God, with my wife, leading my family, my sons, and trying to be a good father to them, um, at work, as a sibling. Um, I mean, there's definitely, and you could branch off of those. It's not like I just have that title and nothing much comes with it. It obviously can get more detailed and more specific, but my point is, like, I've got to have a 360 around me. And I was reading Ephesians 5 and 6 today, and Ephesians 6, 10, and 11 talk about putting on the whole armor of God so that you can withstand the wiles of the devil. You can stand up against the fiery darts. You can be there and be prepared. Um, you know, Standing there holding your ground for when the devil's attacking you. Um, and as a man, like, I don't know about you. I don't know if you hold yourself to such a high standard that you feel like if you drop the ball, you failed the day. I know I do. There are days where I can be alone, in a room, and I can think like, man, I don't think I did as good today as I could have. I overreacted with my kids. I didn't show my wife affection, or I didn't make that comment, or I said the comment when I probably just should have kept it in. Um, and it's the same thing with, like, with work. Like, oh man, I didn't prepare as much as I should have. Did I really work as hard as I could have today? Did I prepare this lesson with my heart and with my soul into it, or was it just me writing something so that we could fill a 20-minute Sunday school lesson? Like, you get it. There's these kind of things that you have to reflect on. And I think that if you're not willing to reflect, then you are showing a level of complacency, and that's not good. And so you have to be honest with yourself, right? Um, some of those honest questions could be something like, building relationships with other people? Do you have the capability of building relationships with others in your tribe? A group of men that are capable themselves. They're able to hold up their own shields, but to hold up the shield that you need them to hold up so that they can be there for you. And then what about you? Do you drop your shield? Are you able to stand? You know, as a Christian, are you capable of doing your devotions, growing closer to the Lord, leading your wife, leading your children if you're in ministry, then leading those in your ministry? Um, Same with work. Are you capable of being able to lead the people at work that you need to, or to be an example, a position of influence at work? Here's the thing. I could say the word capable probably in every sentence or question for the rest of the episode, but I'm not gonna because I mean honestly, you get it, like you understand. But think about your ability to hold up your shield, whatever area of life that you're responsible for, and can you? Like I, I'm big into fitness, right? And so this is just one example. I'm big into fitness. I'm big into working out, and I've seen like these memes, and sure it might be a joke, but I think to a level that there's truth to it. I've seen these memes where it's like these guys who are very prepared for a some kind of an event that would happen in the world, say it's like World War III or something. They're very prepared, right? They've got maybe they have a bunker set up. I don't really know, but they have like a food source that's set aside, or they're big into hunting, so they know that if they had to go out, they could provide there. Or they have like they've already been putting stuff aside. Same thing with like ammo, munitions, weaponry. They're fully capable, right? And if you were to set them in front of targets, they probably are pretty good shots too. So you've got these guys who, and I have nobody specific in mind. I'm not calling anybody out. It was just a meme that I saw. And you see these guys, and I saw something, I don't know if it was a fitness influencer or who, they said you've got these guys that are probably capable of doing certain things. And they say they're ready for World War III, but they can't even run a mile. And I think a lot of times that I try to make things like personal. I try to personalize it so that I can make sure I'm capable, basically. Um, for example, like if I had to pick up my 3-year old, my 3.5-year old, and run out of the store with him in my arms, or run a half mile, I don't know, quarter mile with him in my arms out of danger, can I do that? Can I run with my 7-year old? Now, my 7-year old's pretty fast. He's actually a really fast, athletic kid. But like in a moment of him needing me, am I able to run with 90 pounds in my chest a quarter mile? Um, and I don't want this to be like a doomsday or a doomy type of conversation. By no means am I hinting at that. What I'm simply trying to say is that it requires you to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I can do this. Or just as important, saying, I'm not ready for this yet. And bravo to you if you can look at one of those areas that you're responsible for as a man and you can say, I can improve there. Because that is what we need to be doing. We've got to be seeking growth. We've got to be finding ways that we are building up those abilities. So if the answer to one of those questions is no, in this area, I'm not capable, great, great start. You have removed pride, right? You're humble in your reflection. You're transparent. You're being vulnerable. Now I challenge you with what are you going to do to improve? Um, I think like if we were to use that physical, like carrying your kids, for example, I saw a video of Andrew Huberman. I forget how big the rock was. It was like maybe it was like a 60 pound. I forget how big it was, but he carried this rock, and I want to say he carried it a mile or two up a mountain. I mean, was it really a mountain? It was a very steep hill, but it was a long hill. So probably probably close to a mountain. And it wasn't a mile straight up, right? Like they had a path and they were moving side to side, but he couldn't set it down. So you could hold it however you want, but you can't set it down. So, he's carrying it under one arm, under the other. He might be carrying it like this, throwing it over his shoulder, either one, carrying it up over his back. And at one point, I know he said I could take off. He was sweating. The sun's rising. It's getting really warm. I think they were in California, and he was like, I need to take off my shirt because I'm sweating really bad. And he said, I could set this rock down so that I can get this off, but I choose not to because I want to challenge myself. And just that mentality of like, I could take a quick break, but I know that maybe at the end of this goal, whatever mission you've got going, the task that you're trying to complete, I know at the end of the timeline, I'm going to look back and say, you didn't really need to set that down. You just wanted to take the easy way out. Are you trying to take the easy way out? Like, are you trying to get through your workday and just get through the day? I had a conversation with my mom where we were talking about like it seems like kind of a stigma around here is at least not necessarily just where we live, but like probably in the Midwest, like Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio area. It seems like a big thing was people put in their time at the factory, right? Manufacturing or GM or whatever. And then they put their time in their 30 years, their 35 years, then they buy a cabin up north or maybe down in Florida, and then that's it. Like that's their new life. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but what I want to know is like, are you just so looking forward to what is to come that you're not taking advantage of the opportunities today? Because those opportunities today that you might be overlooking or that you might be taking the easy route to get out of or whatever, those are the areas that like the little victories you have to have that build up over 5, 10, 15 years that allow you to be more and more capable. And so I certainly hope that you're not, taking the easy route, taking the easy route out because that's definitely going to cause no good thing to come like immediately. And maybe let's counter that. Maybe you do take the easy route and you realize like, man, I could do this a little bit faster. I didn't need to work as hard. Think about where you might be cutting the corners in the end. And that's a call out to me too. I have to take that kind of mindset and consideration in with my diet, with my working out, with my devotions. Man, you want to talk about an area where I feel like I'm capable to lead my family spiritually, but how much easier is it for me to stand there in the kitchen, living room, whatever in my house and say, to one of my kids, hey, that's not the way to say it. You need to ask nicely. You need to show your brother love because Jesus loves you. How easy is it for me to just throw out that quick little sentence, change their perspective, give them some quick insight, some advice or whatever, but like I'm not willing to dive into the Bible in the morning, or I'm not willing to sacrifice, say, like, I don't know, Fox News, ESPN, whatever it is that might draw your attention. You're not willing to sacrifice certain things so that you could grow, so that you could then lead better. Like, if that's not you, bravo, awesome. I hope it's that way in every area. And if it is, awesome. Be the leader of another tribe, right? And get guys around you that you can influence that they could then grow and to be that same kind of man so that they can go help somebody else in another tribe, right? Just spread this. But if that is you, like, man, you gotta, you gotta you gotta grow. You gotta grow. And so today I woke up and I just thought to myself, like, man, if I'm a child of God, I need to be pursuing God's word in a stronger way. And thankfully I was able to have a conversation with somebody that I hold dear to my heart, gave me some scripture that they were reading, and sure enough, Ephesians 5 and 6 came up. And Ephesians 6, I think, directly applies to this. And so, put on the armor. If you're a Christian man, put on the armor. Um, I think that being right spiritually is the best place to start. And so, like I said, I don't know how long this is going to be. I didn't know how long this was going to be. This is just going to be kind of a call out, like a call out on capability. Do you think that you're putting in enough work? Do you think that you're putting the work in the right areas, right? Busy work is also not helpful. Um, I don't know. It's something that's been on my mind, and it's something that I've had to kind of challenge myself with to say, like, at the end of the day, all these things that you might say you want or that you think that you want, um, are you putting in are you putting in the work to get there, right? Are you building up your capabilities so that if the time comes up, right? Like you were the sixth man on the bench, and now they're calling you to be a starter. Um, or say the backup or the starting quarterback gets hurt, you're the backup. It's time to step into the game. Whatever the scenario is, whatever the metaphor you want me to use, because most likely I'm not speaking to high school kids. Are you capable of stepping into place? Are you walking the walk as much as you're talking the talk? And if you're not, I hope that this changes your mind. I hope that you hear this, and this isn't like a I don't know, this isn't like a self-help type of thing. But I certainly hope that you hear this and you think, you know what? Yeah, I think I'm a little convicted about maybe going through the motions a little at work or going through the motions spiritually. I gotta lock it down better. Make tomorrow a better day than today was. Have victory in that area tomorrow. Um, if you're hearing this today, right, or you're hearing it right now, have the victory today. It's not too late. So to recap, you need to diagnose the areas of your life where you're needed. As a man, where are you needed? And then after you do that, I want you to ask yourself two questions. Am I capable of performing that role? And can I afford not to be capable? And I hope one of those with transparency and vulnerability allows you to kind of kickstart like, okay, I've got improvements that have to be made. And listen, this isn't me sending a call out for all of you to get better. This is 100% me talking my own reflection here. I have to get better. I have to improve. I have to know that when the temptation, when the opportunity presents itself, um, am I ready? Can I afford to not be ready? And so I certainly hope that this is a good wake up call for you. I hope that this is something that resonates with you for sure. And it's something that I can see myself having this kind of self talk often. But it was good to get it out. It was good to tell all of you this, and I certainly hope that it's an encouragement more than anything. Don't let the conviction weigh so heavily over you that you don't make a move. Instead, use it as fuel to take that first step. Then tomorrow, take two steps, and next thing you know, you consistently stay at it for a week or two, and you're finding that you're responding to things differently, you're acting differently, you're being proactive, you're managing your time or certain tasks better, and it's just growth from there. So pursue that and ask yourself the question: Are you capable? In those areas where you are responsible, are you capable of stepping up to the call? Ask yourself, and we'll see you next time.